Chapter 16, Checking and Corrective Action, Environmental Performance Assessment, Environmental Management System Audits. Garrison Committee should be maintaining environmental compliance, safety sites, and activities potential for the impact of the environment. Audits conducted with the Environmental Performance Assessment System, or EPAS, include all operation activities, installation boundaries, including operation range of the other training areas. Representative sample of similar activity types to evaluate overall environmental program performance and conformance with the ISO 14001. 3. Assessments will include tenant activities, outgrants, leases, and other activities under the purview of the Army. The Garrett General Assignment will not include the privatized facility, however, the special and circumstances related to the facility, status of the privatized facilities of the U.S. Army Environmental Command, the Environmental Performance Assessment System Program Manager, as soon as possible, as being notified with the schedule of the Environmental Performance Assessment System audit so that a document determining the regardless of the inclusion or exclusion can be made. External assessment, the CONUS external performance assessment, the schedule based on the risk analysis, consulting with the headquarters Department of the Army that appropriate the command outside of the continental United States. External assessment are conducted every 3 years in accordance with the Department of Defense Directive of the 47.15.5. The external assessment is conducted using the team of independent assessors that are not associated with the installation, not having the necessary organization subject matter expertise. The expertise will include requisite environmental, media, regulatory expertise. The expertise, functional mission, areas of subject of assessment. 3. External assessment will be conducted with the headquarters Department of the Army approved with the protocols. OCONUS for the product will be based on the country specific of the final governing standards. 4. Individuals performing assessment will be provided with required assessment data with the Army approved the application database to assist in the producing of the draft of the final environmental performance assessment report. Will draft the installation corrective plan, installation corrective action plan. The Army installation prepare the draft of the installation corrective action plan, identify the corrective action, secure the resource of the correction through the chain of command. Assessment result of the installation corrective action plan will be made available to the Environmental Quality Control Committee. The draft of the installation corrective action plan will be forwarded to the effective of the Army Command. Army Service Component Command, the direct reporting units, and other tenants review the internal assessment. Internal assessments will be conducted annually minimum by installation personnel as part of the regular management, checking the corrective action and function of the unit unless external assessment is conducted with the calendar year. 2. The Army installation will provide a required internal estimated data into the Army approved application database to assist the producing of the installation corrective action plan. Internal assessment will be included with the review, processing, assessment of the draft installation corrective action plan. Review the corrective actions not completed, assess the compliance with the new regulatory requirements addressed as they are specified with the higher command. Installation will notify the respective command for the internal assessment has been completed. The assessment result with the installation corrective action plan will be made available to the Environmental Quality Control Committee. The installation corrective action plan. Each installation will be prepared a revised draft of the installation corrective action plan in accordance with the Army requirements. Installation corrective action plan will track external and internal reported compliance program performance deficiencies. Installation corrective action plan will remain a draft. Responsibility. All draft assessment reports, opposing papers, and internal working documents. The draft documents must be prepared, marked to the official use only. Distribution will be handled accordingly. All requests for release reports will be referred to the appropriate Installation Freedom of Information Act officer. The environmental performance assessment is in the progress of the Director of Environmental. The programs may convert with the in progress review of the necessary to review the performance of the program and identifying the resolving the issues. Alright, 6.2, Monitoring Assessment, Installation Management Command, the National Guard Bureau, the National Guard, Army Command, the Army Surface Command, the Direct Reporting Units, Installation Tenants will establish and maintain documented procedure, monitoring measure of the regular basis for the key characteristics of those operation activities that can have the impact on the environmental, would include the recording the information, the tracking performance, relevant operational controls, controlling the organization, environmental objects, and targeting, monitoring equipment with calibrated, maintain the records of the process will retain in accordance with the installation of our operation procedures. Six three Army Environmental Information Reporting. Army Environmental Information Policy. The Army Environmental Information Assets Management, the part of the Army Environmental Information Technology Portfolio Management. Environmental information investment with the need of the Chief of Information Office, the Deputy Chief of Staff, Garrison 6, Army knowledge of the management of the command knowledge management goals and adhere to the information installation environment information technology governance process incorporated with the Office of the Assistant Chief of the Staff of the Installation Management, Business Enterprise, and Architecture Strategy and Plan Program Goal. All Army environmental information will facilitate planning, execution, monitoring, reporting programs, all of the activity levels in support of the Army mission. Environmental information tools will be built in standardized format incorporated with the Army Enterprise Architecture. Coordinated requirements of the Army reporting system will be coordinated with the Office of Army Chief of Staff and Installation Management Business Transportation Board of the Directors, or the DEP, the Representation Functional Environmental Information Requirements of the Business Transformation Board of Directors. U.S. Army Engineering Corps represents the technical environmental information requirements of the Business Transformation Board of Directors. Environmental reporting system will be executed in accordance with the Office of Army Chief of Staff and Installation Management and the BEA. Strategy and plan. Primary systems of the following Army primary system of the data collection and reporting. Army Environmental Database, Environmental Quality. The Army Environmental Database and the Environmental Quality serve as the primary source of the information reporting the Army environmental status for the senior Army leadership, Department of Defense, Congress. The Army Environmental Database, Environmental Quality tracks the compliance with environmental laws to include permits, environmental permits, actions, and regulations to determine the Army progress towards the Department of Defense measurements of merit, and allows the Army to populate other required reports. To Environmental Restoration Information System, the ARIS or ARIS and Range Environmental Restoration Information System Range Documentation. Army Environmental Restoration Range Program Data Support of the Central Repository. Army Installation Chemical Geological Remedial Action Data. Army Environmental Database Restoration. This database is recorded with the collection of the reporting of the data from the site being cleaned up with the purview of the Army Environmental Restoration Army Base Enclosure account. Army Environmental Database compliance related with the cleanup. This database is a record to identify the documentation required for the cleanup containment of the Army sites that are not eligible for the Defensive Environmental Restoration Program. Reimbursement Programs Track Systems, RPTS, restores reimbursement program tracking system stores data used in reporting financial elements for the agricultural grazing reimbursement, forestry, hunting, and fishing, and the trapping fees. The Department of Defense Forestry reserves account with the Army Wildfire programs. The Army Environmental Database Environmental Performance Assessment System. The Army Environmental Database Environmental Performance Assessment System is primary source for the information reporting, collection, and tracking, analyzing Army environmental compliance performance data for the external and internal audits. 7. Installation Status Report National Infrastructure. Installation Status Report National Infrastructure collects reports on the readiness of the Army installation and information collected by the annual base for the 18th media within the Army Environmental Program. Toxic Release Inventory, TRI. Installation may be established 3-year threshold criteria to submit the annual Toxic Release Inventory reports as required by the Emergency Community Right to Know Act, Executive Order 13423. Solid Waste Annual Reporting Web System, SWAR Web. Solid Waste Annual Reporting Web System is a web-based system supporting integrated solid waste management installation level. Allows the tracking of solid waste construction with the destruction of the debris waste generation costs, as well as diversion from the recycling and reuse hazardous substance management system. Is an installation client and client service software system supported by the integrated management hazardous waste and is applicable to tracking and it authorizes ordering, issuing, and returning hazardous material to disposal hazardous waste. Reporting violations. Installation commanders will enter the enforcement actions using the official electronic Army Environmental Quality Reporting System. For example, the Army Environmental Database Environmental Quality Reporting Mechanism verification for information through the prior command channels. For example, the Army Component Command Service System, or direct reporting of the MSC, the Regional Office of the Army Commands, to the Army Environmental AEC. The initial of the enter enforcement actions must be reported in accordance with the current Army Environmental Quality Reporting Policy requirements, published and updated with the Headquarters Department. Initial reports will be entered in the Army Environmental Quality Reporting within 48 hours to 2 business days of the enforcement actions involving criminal enforcement, fine, penalty, or fee or tax, installation-wide, showstopper, or major mission restriction, Army-wide, Department of Defense-wide, impact media attention, community on or off-post, impact third-party fault if there's non-Army entity and responsible with the whole part of the alleged violation. The entered enforcement actions will be reported and entered with the Army Environmental Database for the environmental quality within 7 business days through the proper command or channels. The enforcement aforementioned for the 48 hours, 2 business days, reporting the notification to the headquarters, Department of Army, and the Army Legal Office through the proper command channels. Additional coordinate with the Army Legal Office in writing throughout technical legal channels regarding litigation, Army administrative policy, and settling negotiations. 16.5 Non-conformance corrective and preventive actions. All Army facilities included identified by the headquarters Department of Army Environmental Management System implementation will accomplish the following in accordance with the ISO 14001. Establishing and maintaining procedures defining responsibility authority for the handling and investigation of non-conformance of facility and emergency management system, environmental management systems requiring the procedure, the implementation record of any of the change documented procedure resulting in the corrective and preventive action. The corrective and preventive action taken to eliminate the cause actual potential of the non-conformance will be appropriate with the magnitude problems compensatory with environmental encountered, if any. Environmental records, the Installation Management Command, National Guard, Army National Guard, Army Command, Army Service Component Command. Director report using the installation tenants will be established, maintain procedures, identifying the identification, maintenance, and disposal, or the disposition of environmental records, include the training records and the release of the audit reviews. Environmental records will be legible and identifiable, traceable, active the product with the service involved will contain the name and the official both the point of the contact of the record. The environmental records will be stored and maintained in the hard copy of the electronic format in such a way that they are readily retrievable, protecting against damage and deterioration or loss. Read it record keeping guidelines. Environmental records will be maintained as appropriate, demonstrated with conformance to the ISO 14001 requirements set forth in AR200 402. Environmental cleanup documents. Army and installation facilities will provide copies of the environmental cleanup documents to the electronic permanent repository of the U.S. Army Engineering Corps. Environmental cleanup of the documentation that should be submitted with the detailed environmental cleanup of the program. Permanent document repository guidance, which is issued on 29 September 2004. Copies of the guidance are available to the U.S. Army Environmental Corps Cleanup Division. Chapter 17, Management Review. Let's see how many. Chapter 7, Management Review. Chapter 17, Environmental Management System Review. The installation will establish written procedures conducting the required management review. The environmental management system is at least annually introduced commander in conjunction with the environmental quality control equivalent, and also the appropriate facilities will conduct management, the review of the respective environmental management system to ensure the operational sustainability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the management review process will ensure the necessary information collected with all the management to carry out the evaluation. The management review will be documented, will address the possible need for the change of policy, objectives, and other elements of the environmental management system in light. Environmental management system audit results, changing circumvention committee with continual improvement. 17.2 Headquarters Department of Army Environmental Program Reviews. The Headquarters Department of Army will conduct periodic program reviews to ensure adequate oversight, program effectiveness, and proper resource allocation and execution. Appendix A, References.